الحمد لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we're back here together with the guys. It's been a while. We got a nice, a very, very interesting topic today to discuss. It's been a while. Everybody's been kind of busy with the dunya has gotten to us.
A little bit.
Ali, Uthman, has the dunya gotten to us, or what is it?
May Allah forgive
What
me.
explanation can we give to the community,
Inna lillahi
to our viewers,
wa inna
for the
ilayhi
lack
raji'un.
of, the absence?
Well, subhanAllah, a lot of brothers, things are going for them in their lives. And so just know that this is a platform, alhamdulillah, but we're a platform of non-bums.
Right.
And so we have lives.
Yes.
We have lives.
And that's a new one. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, it was.
But it's a reality you have to face. Over time, as you get older in life, you're gonna get more busy.
Yeah.
Things will add up. Your plate will get full.
Right.
But no matter what, you must find time for the deen, the da'wah, personal growth, doing da'wah, giving back to the community. Those are things that are universal that, the more you give back, the more it actually, in return, it benefits you.
Absolutely.
So what's up with you guys? Uthman, how you been?
Alhamdulillah, I can't complain, but I can explain.
Okay, the famous quote.
That's always been our motto.
Yeah, inshallah. Idrees, inshallah, they're going to be here soon. We're going to be filming a lot of podcasts soon, inshallah. So stay tuned. We also have a lot of different programs coming up for the summer, inshallah. It should be exciting. We're putting it together. There's heated debates going on as to what should happen, but inshallah, it'll come through. Ali, how's life been lately, man?
Alhamdulillah, Najib, I've been good, man. Can't complain as well. This is man. Things are going great. But I'm glad we're here. We're just talking about this being a new season almost,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
New ambiance, new energy, new vibe, man. New season, new year. Come on, man.
That's the benefits of the break. When you get a little bit of break, you come back. You know what I mean?
Stronger, man.
Stronger, better, inshallah, different ideas. Today we've got a hot topic to talk about. I think the whole community has been aware of some of the things that have been going on lately with the extreme, reckless violence that's been going on within the community by young Somali brothers. You know what I mean? Sisters, sometimes they say, you guys don't talk about, you guys, you know what I mean? You talk about women's issues, you don't talk about the brother issues. is that argument?
Which is not true.
Right. Of course.
We're actually on the guys a lot more, right?
Yeah, a lot more.
Well, today, you know what I mean? It's an unfortunate reality. We don't like to be on anybody, but, the reality is we deal with issues that are impacting the community. And this is a very, very serious issue, which, inshallah, hopefully we'll break it down tonight for the causes to the solutions from different angles, how it came to this level of violence. So, Uthman, when was the first time you actually noticed this level of extreme, reckless violence behavior?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallama. I don't think it's been something new, but it's kind of been something that has been increasing lately.
Okay.
And it's the causes are multifaceted. It's not just one thing. One, we're being also, Minnesota is under the effect of what happens nationally, and the sort of legislation and changes that happen in local governments. And the attitude towards the police by the people,
of course,
also does have an impact on that. The solutions and the approach of the clergy, of the Islamic community, the Muslim community, also does have an impact on it. The lack thereof,
involvement in these issues,
has an impact on it. The approach of parents has an impact on it.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about these discussions.
Schools, right? And just in general, the lack of accountability.
Oh yeah.
As a whole has a huge impact on this.
So, but when would you say you've seen this at a level where it was getting out of control?
I don't think anybody saw this at this level now. It's just kind of resorted to just lawlessness, really.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Craziness.
I mean, before you had a couple of instances where, it's a part of, it would always be a part of the agenda of, addressing some of those things to better the community. But now it's gotten to a point where even, the kids that are doing this, because there's no law enforcement to enforce the law, then you have a
Reckless
rise.
behavior,
You have a rise of this sort of behavior. And that's what I'm saying, is that even that aspect is a new one, really.
Yeah.
Nationwide, local, your city, municipality. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, Ali, when was the first time you've seen this?
Really, it's not so
we
much.
We know you live in the suburbs and there's no crimes that happen there.
It happens, but never to this extent. And I think that's a good point, because that's a lot of reason why people move out to the suburban areas. Is to avoid to deal with certain things like this and to this level. The first time I seen it is not so much about the first time. I want to say it's more the pivoting, the shifting to the recklessness that it's become, the way it's grown. So these kids, what they're doing right now is not authentic to them, meaning it's not something that they just started. It's not a revolution. It's not something that they just did organically. It has its roots,
of course,
embedded, and over time it grew to something that's like, without any chains or shackles to hold it back. Like it's just loose and unlawless, right? So the first time I've seen it were just small signs, right? You think, you can see it in, some kids, acting and misbehaving and things like that. And so when you see it in that, respect, you think that's not the norm, right? You like, oh, this is bizarre. This is an outlier. But because it's happening so often now, it's becoming so common and so normal. Now it's becoming a thing of like, hey, it's just a part of reality. Yeah. And that's the issue that I see right now. It's not so much day one, but more so how much days has gone by since day one, and that has shifted and continue to shift until it becomes worse and worse.
Yeah. So one of the most awkward things I found out about the nature of this behavior is that a lot of the kids who do these things are younger. Like, you know what I mean? Late teens, between like 15 to 20 or early 20s most. Because a guy who's like older than 21, 22, and you're behaving that way, that's on another level.
Right.
And most of these kids are well off, rich kids who life has gone so easy for them. Now they can just go somersault people in the streets and like
they're looking for a thrill.
Subhanallah.
They drive the latest cars, have the latest shoes, nicest watch. Life gotten so easy to the point where now they're jumping each other at Islamic events. The first time I noticed this behavior, at just a major level is about a year ago when, I think, were you at the event at the Islamic
I was
conference?
there for a little bit and then I left. That was Abu Bakr's Mu'tamar.
Yeah, you were in there, right?
Conference. I was there for a little bit in the morning. And
Not
then
in the fight.
And then I had to leave. I believe it was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And so there was like, I had to go to Islamic University. So yeah, I didn't stay there, but it happened later on in the evening.
Yeah.
And a lot of things led up to that event. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think if you look at the timeline, that was like a big one.
That was a big
kind
one.
of set off a lot of these other events.
That was a major one for me. And then when that happened, nothing was done about it.
Exactly.
Nothing was done about it. No one held anybody accountable for that. So what happened? It became a norm. To the point where this past Ramadan, the masjid were not safe. You'd get robbed. If you're like getting out of Tarawih,
that's true.
You're going to get robbed by a young Somali guy.
At gunpoint, yeah.
It used to be just your sandal getting stolen. And you're like, where's my sandals at? But now you're getting robbed at gunpoint, subhanAllah. But the thing is, though, exactly what you're saying is that there's no level of deterrence, right? There's nothing preventing these kids from wanting to do it again and again and again. If I do something wrong and no one stops me, I'm going to feel the urge to want to continue to do it, right? There's that sense of drive, that sense of like feeling that, hey, I got away with it the first time. I could do it again and again and again. And so if no one's stopping it, who's, exactly.
That's a source of encouragement, actually. Silence is what did they say? What do the liberals say again? The only liberal statement I like, silence is violence.
Silence is
silence is violence.
Consent is violence. I think. Yeah.
Silence is violence.
Silence is
it's written everywhere if you drive around in Minneapolis. Silence. So now let's dig deep into the situation, because the situation is getting out of control. Even in public places now, I was hearing places like Walmart, you know what I mean, different types of stores, and a lot of the more physical violence is between them. So they're fighting amongst each other. like different young late teens. Hey, you spoke about me maybe on social media issues, and then you know what I mean. They see the one guy working at Walmart. One guy, a lady I know, told me that her nephew got jumped getting out of work because he had beef with one guy. After they jumped him and egged his car or whatever they did, they came to the house and they like bombarded the family. You know, one of the cars was considered total loss after they were done with it. And this is in like Columbia Heights, you know, more of kind of a suburban area. But nevertheless, I mean, the violence is getting out of control.
Yeah.
So, Uthman, let's come to the cause number one, which is what I assume to be, I mean, my opinion is there are many causes, obviously. We're not going to have them in order. One of the greatest causes of, I think, is the culture shift. Ever since George Floyd's death, the environment, you know, especially in our state, has changed dramatically. What do you think the culture shift has done, and how has it created this level of violence and lawlessness?
I'm glad you asked this question.
Yeah.
So, first, let's look at the time where a lot of our parents and grandparents migrated to this country.
Yeah.
Their culture, first of all, was backed by Islam so much, right?
Yeah.
Like they lived, breathed Islam. Whether they did right or wrong, they knew where Islam stands. They knew the culture where if you do something wrong, you may embarrass your entire family, your tribe, your culture, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right? And so a little bit of that has been embedded in the older generations of people, like, you know, in late 20s, 30s, 40s as well. But these younger kids, these younger adults are following this Western movement of adolescence. Like they literally love this music culture, this hip hop culture, this, I don't care what you say, this liberal movement of I can do whatever I want. And I'm going to say this without being so politically correct. When this whole George Floyd thing happened, a lot of black people, a lot of people in the community were like, we can do whatever we want right now because the police ain't going to stop us from doing it. Man. Right? Our parents are not going to stop us. Parents are not, they're encouraging us, but we're forgetting being Somali.
Yeah.
We're not the same in that realm.
No.
Okay. We're Somali people where we have our parents who told us, hey, you're Muslim first before you're anything else.
Yeah.
And even like Islam and then the Somali culture doesn't even like enforce that or back that up.
Yeah.
So there's been that shift to where I believe it's going from the Islamic culture having a Somali culture to now hip hop, rap, you know, drugs and alcohol, schools, whatever they do in schools and quote unquote like this like offspring of gang culture, because gang culture is different. And one thing about gang culture is personal story, but I grew up around gang culture.
Yeah.
They had a structure.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not condoning this, but what I'm saying is gang culture at one point had a structure where it's like, okay, this is our territory, or this is our morals, this is our ethics, this is what we prevent, this is how we conduct things. But these kids right now, they don't operate like that. There's no structure, there's nothing that they follow. They just kind of do whatever they please. And because of that, and because there is no consequence to those actions, it's I'm going to continue to do whatever I want. No one's going to stop me, because no one's going to stop me before, and no one's going to stop me tomorrow. So I'm just going to keep going, not knowing the consequences that are going to come after, you know, they get caught, or somebody lays a law or puts the foot down and says, we're going to make an example out of one of you or a group of you, and then keep it pushing. So I think that's where I see a culture shift, and that's my stand on that.
Yeah, that's definitely some of the biggest things that have been happening especially in the last 2-3 years. The major culture shift.
Yeah.
After the George Floyd thing, like you said, the dynamics of the mindsets of the people have changed.
Right.
There was so much lawlessness, especially, you know what I mean, when the liberals voted, you know, let's defund the police, let's do this, let's do that. It led to a community that's, you know what I mean, has no level of protection.
Absolutely.
Which led to the youngest individuals having the guts and the, you know what I mean, the urge to do anything they feel like without having and fearing anything. I mean, Absolutely. They already stepped over the parents. That's one thing that we'll talk about later on. And then the next thing is, you know what I mean, there's nothing holding them back.
Exactly.
Uthman, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, there's this younger, like, what do they call it? Gen Z?
Gen Z, yeah.
Gen Z. I think they are less, or they're least, they don't identify much with the culture of the generations before them.
No, totally different.
Right? And so a part of the culture, the Somali culture, has a concept which has been ostracized recently, which is the culture of shame.
Yes, aib culture.
Aib. And so even it's
been
a
attacked.
negative connotation
Yeah.
when you even say it, and people look at it negatively, and they only look at, bashing and harming people and to humiliate people. But it's actually bigger than that. When you have this concept of shame, call it whatever you want, aib culture, shame culture, whatever. But when you have a concept of shame and this sort of reinforcing factor in society, people are very vigilant of what they do.
Yeah.
And they think twice about their actions
Of
before they
course.
do it in public.
Of
right?
course.
And so this is very important when it comes to like Islam,
Yes.
is because we are telling the world that we're moral leaders
Yeah.
and that we have, the moral compass, and we have, the model in which everyone should live their lives.
Yeah.
And so when you have enough of that in society,
Yeah.
people begin to engage
Yeah.
and interact in society with good morals, and they are it's a taboo to do anything else other than that.
Yeah.
Once you remove that from society, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he says, whoever doesn't have shame, then they will do whatever they want.
Absolutely.
فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. Yes.
فَاصْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ.
Do whatever you
Right?
like. Mark.
And so there's two different ways of looking at it. Is do whatever you want, because
Yes.
there's
if
nothing
you have no
stopping
haya,
you.
if you have no haya.
And then the other point is you will do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right? Because this is this component is not there.
Yeah.
This is an important. So when you don't identify with that culture and you start to identify with the dominant American culture,
Yeah.
and what's happening at the time, people start to say, well, here's my skin color and this skin color, and so they're saying this is a special thing right now, and there's benefits to this, and I can pretty much get in people's faces, and they can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
And so the only thing at this point that is there to regulate this kind of a mental shift,
Yeah.
right, from one way of thinking to the other is Islam.
Yeah.
Islam will regulate it if you
course.
believe in it, you practice it.
Yeah.
But once you don't do that, then you're going to have the most odd and strangest things you'll see is a group of Somali kids with thobes on and ski masks. You're asking yourself,
What in the
why
world
do you
is
have a
going
thobe on in the first
The
place?
guys who were
Why
jumping
do you have
people.
a kameez on?
Yeah.
And you saw this not only in one, but in every instance, Mall of America fights, you'll see this. You saw this in Dinkytown. You see this in the convention center.
Right.
Guys with khamis jumping
What is
people.
and with ski mask on top of that. So obviously you see this is a huge influence, and they identify more with a dominant culture more than their deen.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah.
And this is where things are getting scary, because now this means that you want to identify more with the non-Muslim way
Culture.
of life, not even
course.
culture,
Right.
but the
Exactly.
way of life
Oh, yeah.
itself,
That's what I mean.
right? More than Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No doubt about it.
it.
No doubt about it. Is there a major identity crisis? I think with Gen Z, no doubt about it. They're facing, and you know what? I'm going to make an argument for them. I honestly don't blame them. They have not been prepared for the world. You know what I mean? Which we'll get to later on. Which we'll get to later on. The Gen Z, they have not been exposed to the culture expectation that we generally have for Somali people. Let's just say, since the young brothers Somalis, Somalis have a level of daqan, a culture standard that you cannot pass.
Yes.
Generally, that's how the standard used to be. Okay, and either you have deen or you have daqan. And culture and deen, they're compatible.
Yes.
For most of the time.
Yeah.
For most of the time, especially if a society is Muslim, and the culture and the deen, they're compatible. Al-'adatul muhakkama. So the Gen Z does not have any level of daqan. They don't have culture, and they lack fundamentals of deen.
Right.
And unfortunately, they've been institutionalized growing up. I'm thinking, when I really look, the culture shift, one of the biggest things that happened to Gen Z that really nobody talks about, I feel it for them, is they're the daycare kids.
Wallahi, that's so true.
They're the first generation of kids who grew up in daycare. Imagine if you were born in 2005.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
That means until you were, for 13 years of your life, you were thrown in daycare.
Wow.
You go from school 6 a.m., 5 a.m. you wake up on the bus 6 a.m., get to school 7, get out 3 p.m., go to daycare at 3:30, come back at 9:30.
Yeah.
They never really had a childhood.
Yeah.
They never really grew up.
Yeah.
They never had the fun we had when we were growing up. I used to play
be
outside 7 days a week,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kick it, relax, you know what I mean? Neighborhood friends. We used to fight sometimes too, but you know, it was just us guys at the soccer field just fighting.
Yeah.
So when we got into our teens, there was no point of going to Mall of America, Dinkintown, Islamic events and jumping people because we did that when we were 6, 5, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're the daycare kids. They've been institutionalized for most of their young adult life.
Good point.
So the minute they escape the system, they're well off. They're looking for excitement and gratification.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Ali?
No, exactly. This is like when a lot of people say the white kids in the suburban community come down to the city to cause havoc, right? Cause issues cause issues in the community because they want that excitement. They look for that thrill that they're not gonna get when they lived from exactly that schedule, day-to-day schedule.
Yeah.
When we were growing up too, the other thing was that we kind of, when we migrated, the family moved to America and stuff, we all lived in like the same community.
Yeah.
So exactly what you're saying was like, if one person is doing wrong, the entire community will probably know about it.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
If a sister is doing something, she's, not dressing appropriate, some of the idrees in the community, idrees in the community will know right away.
Hey,
tell
what's
them,
going
Mom.
on with so-and-so?
Yeah, talk to your da. And if her brother is smoking weed and doing drugs and stuff like that, his dad is getting a call the next day. Not even a call. They'll show up to the house or see him at the masjid and say, your son is doing something he shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And those conversations were happening in that space.
Yeah.
But now that we're, just like you're saying, the kids now are so institutionalized and all they have really is social media and stuff like that. And they're in their home. Once they come outside, it's like,
they don't know how to conduct themselves.
Yeah. I'm gonna do as I please. Let's get into something because I've been at home all this time. I need to do something crazy.
Yeah.
And that's pushing them to be like, I want to do whatever it is I see on social media.
Of course.
The mask that you're talking about, they seen it on social media. They seen these rappers wearing it. Where did they get this idea from?
Of course.
I don't see them wearing it in the wintertime. I don't know if any of these Somali brothers ski or anything like that, right? So when are they wearing these things? Whenever they want to commit crimes, whenever they want to look cool amongst their friends and get into these, acts of violence and disrupt the community. So that's what I'm seeing right now.
This is my issue too. I think this is not said enough, and I know a lot of people are going to have an issue with me saying this. I don't care though. It needs to be said.
This the podcast to do it.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna say it.
Come on,
say it.
Najib, relax.
Yeah.
So I think for Somali kids, so in this country, there's been a long history of Black Americans going through a lot of problems and issues. And, you had 400 years of subjugation, give or take, and, racism and slavery. And you have all these other side effects that come with it, generational trauma and drama and, violence and ghettos and, all these issues are happening.
Tough times,
have led up to things like, where you're starting to see a man, with his police officer's knee on his neck for 8 minutes and he dies, shortly after. These are things that affect everybody in the community. However, because of this whole movement that has transpired afterwards, you see now a shift in mindset from the Somali community as a whole, who now identifies themselves with the exact same culture of Black Americans.
Yeah.
Most may not do it in a malicious way, but they do them a disservice by doing it. And I'm going to tell you how.
Right.
The rights and things they need and the recognition they need from this country and the government, who has usurped them of these basic rights, these civil rights, they can't get them because they have new people in the movement hijacking the movement,
Okay.
right? Which means that now the government could just say, hey, let's do something for everyone. When Asian Americans were being attacked
Okay.
in the Twin Cities and all this because of the COVID and things like that, it was bad. But they had laws, legislation made just for them. Asian crime or hate crime acts and bills that were passed just for them. How do you think that will make somebody who's African American feel?
Absolutely.
Where they couldn't even get just one of those things. Look, everything that was passed supposed to be for them was for everyone. Civil rights, everyone, no matter what your gender, your skin, everything. They put everything in there.
Okay.
So now it dilutes their whole issue.
Yeah.
So it doesn't give them their rights because now it gets rights to everybody else who didn't go through what they went through.
Right.
Then you have the Somali kid who's been here for maybe their parents came 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a Somali sister tell me that her ancestors were picking cotton. Wallahi, uqsim
A Somali sister told you that
told me
her
that.
ancestors were here
Because
picking
it's
cotton.
out of just jahl, ignorance.
Yeah.
Right?
Where'd she get that from?
But she says she's black. Do you understand what I'm saying here?
Oh,
So now
identity.
they're identifying with the African American culture, but not even just because every culture has good and bad,
Right.
right? But they identify with the worst aspects of African American or Black American culture,
Right.
right? Which is what? They go after the criminals. They listen to their music, little boat, little house, little Jew, little jit, all this stuff. They listen to their music. Now you have a ski mask on.
Yeah.
How'd you end up with a ski mask on? We're going to go beat up this N-word. They're going to using the N-word. Why? I'm black.
Right.
You're beating up this guy. Why? I'm black. Why are you jacking this guy? Why are you doing? I'm black.
Yeah.
That's why. And so look at the mindset here. It's so because African Americans have built this country. They have innovated a lot
Absolutely.
on their backs for free, right? Which the recognition is not even given to them. And for unfortunately, many people coming out of the diaspora, or they're starting diaspora, they're hijacking that culture, and also not giving them any credit.
Yeah.
Now you are a Muslim. Imagine this. This is even the worst part. You're in a Muslim family. You have morals. You have all this. Now you're coming and you say, hey, I want to be like this guy who's abusing women and shooting and talking about how much people he kills and shoots. And I want to be like this. And so what's the best way to do it? Then go in such a lawless time in a ski mask and go and beat up people in Dinky Town.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then out of those 35 boys, there was 30 to 35 boys that were caught by the police and taken in.
Was it 30 of the man that was arrested?
Majority of them were from suburbs.
Interesting.
Think about it. Most Somali families don't have a tough situations to where you have to go sell drugs. Most of these kids, if I was a betting man, I'd say they have both parents in the house.
Right.
Providing for them in their house,
breaking their
food
backs.
and drink, everything, clothing, even the Nike Techs that they go terrorize people in Dinky Town. Their parents paid for that.
Yeah.
Nike Techs are expensive.
Yeah.
Yeezys are expensive, bro.
Yeah.
These guys are dressed better than all of us.
Oh yeah.
So what is this?
What's the point?
What's this struggle and trench that you're coming from? I want to know this.
Yeah.
Right. Or is it that you're taking advantage? So this is just the consequence. That's just what it is. They're just taking advantage of the environment. They're taking advantage of things that really have nothing to do with them, and they're using it to just
justify
for a thrill. That's it. For a thrill
that's exactly
and to fulfill the shahwa.
So basically, what I understood from your argument right there, which is a strong argument, is they're using the African American struggle for their own thrill.
Absolutely.
They're not out there helping the cause in any way possible.
No.
They're not helping forward and better the situation of the African Americans, but rather because of the lawlessness and the things that haven't happened because of certain things, now they're taking advantage of it and causing just more chaos.
And this is something that I'm actually I'm quite passionate about because I've been doing a lot of research about the Jim Crow and everything, but I've also been listening to thinkers from the African American or Black community,
Okay.
and some of their arguments and issues they have with outside groups coming in,
Yeah.
and people from the continent coming in,
Of course.
and the things that they do that we don't really think about,
Yeah.
right? That harms them in their community,
Of course.
right?
No
It
doubt
harms
about
their community, and it also harms their process and their struggle to get their rights.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, up until this time, what have they gotten that? Really, everything that the African Americans have achieved in the legislative way has benefited every single community that's coming
Everybody.
in.
No doubt about it.
The immigrants have come in, but the immigrants, many of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but there are some from their community that first they disrespect and disregard them, and they don't give any credit to them,
Yeah.
and they take all of their credit,
the benefits.
and they say, and they take the benefits and say, no, we did that because look at our skin. It's like, bro, you just got here 30 years ago.
You just got here.
You just got here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a disrespectful thing, but at the same time, you only harm yourself.
Yeah.
Of course.
You only harm yourself, and you're harming your community. Now you're giving the dominant community, you're giving white people even much more of a reason to say, hey,
disregard
Trump,
African Americans. Yeah.
let's send them back. I agree with you. Before I was up,
So,
like, you know, say these are big things. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the next point, because this topic is so big, we can talk
broad.
about it for such a
it's
long
really
period of
big.
time, and time is really moving fast. Let's discuss. What are these young brothers? Ali, do you think these brothers are thinking when they're acting this way? Do they not understand the consequences these behaviors will have in their future?
No, absolutely not. They're not thinking that far ahead.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. They're young. I feel like a lot of us, when we're young, we don't think that long ahead. Unless you have a game plan put into place for you, right?
Yeah.
Whether you do it yourself or your parents do it, or the imam at the masjid, there's somebody's talking to you and reminding you that you should be better and become more mature, because that's what we are. X, Y, and Z. I can name the list. But a lot of these kids, they don't look ahead. They don't look at the consequences. They don't look at the repercussions. They don't look at what happens to them, their parents, their family, their future, right? The careers, right? And you spoke on this, right? The chances of them getting married and stuff like that as well, and finding a spouse and finding connections and doing that. A lot of these things are not going through their mind, because neurologically, and somewhere in our head, we have, right, this dopamine, we have endorphins and all these other things that shoots, right, that tells us, oh, this feels good, this is a feel good thing that we got going on, right? And for many of us, what happens is, if we hit a high on certain thing at its highest point, you can't even go any higher, because you're like, I've enjoyed it as much as I could. I need something more. I need to take it to the next level. So when this is the whole thing about consequence. When someone is robbing a bank, for example, do they start at the bank? Is that their first robbery? No, right? The first place that they start, maybe when they're a kid or something, they go to a supermarket or a liquor store or whatever and grab a candy, right? And then the candy, that rush, that feeling that they get, it's like, I want more of that. As an adult, you're not gonna steal candy anymore, right? No. Now what's equivalent to your candy is robbing, the liquor store itself that you've been shopping at or taking the candy from. And so these kids, they don't see that. They don't see that these consequences is gonna lead to something even bigger, which is you losing your life potentially. Of course. SubhanAllah, that's where we're at. That's what I gotta say about that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate reality, but that's. Uthman, the question I have for you is, has the community done enough to help these young people, to get them to realize that, there are consequences? Obviously, so far the community has not done anything about these young kids. I have never been to a masjid that are talking about it. There hasn't been any community awareness or events happening regarding these issues. It's just been silence.
I think the community overall, again, is a multifaceted issue. And we're looking at a lot of components here. But unfortunately, even for masajid, you have some masajid that are trying their best. To address this issue.
Have you seen like the last year anybody dealing with this issue?
I've seen because it's not just about kids going and vandalizing or terrorizing people that are walking on the streets. This is a bigger issue. Right. There's a void. Yes, there's a void, and so when we look at it from that aspect, because that's a foundational Yeah, you know what I'm saying, that they're losing. They don't have that.
Yeah.
So the masajid, some of them are doing a great job in terms of, you know, efforts and programs and trying to get the youth linked in, and they have youth halaqat and those sort of things, and they have a weekly thing, and some of them have even programs that they're trying to do in the summer, in terms of camping and things like that. So I know some of them. Okay?
Yes.
So we can't say not all of them are doing anything, but then there are those that are still stuck in like, you know, political masjid politics of like the 2010 eras, where it's like we don't want the kids to do anything unless we do it.
Yeah.
And if we do it, we have an old guy talking, and they don't understand each other. There's a barrier,
cultural
right?
difference.
And then if the youth come and they're like, "Hey, we want to do our own thing, a halakha here," though, they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna do it. You guys can't do anything on your own."
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we can't do it, then we're not coming,
Yeah.
right? And they're not showing up. So then when you don't have that, then they resort to third spaces.
Of course.
And they go to spaces where are more welcoming, but probably more dangerous,
Of course.
like college, you know, events
Oh,
where they're
man.
like, "Hey, why don't you come here and do Quran with us?" And now you're doing, you know, subah with the sister on one side, and then on the other side, and it's like, "Oh, Yasin, you know, you're enjoying this, right?"
Yeah.
And so then this is how misguidance happens. And this is causing even more harm now.
Yeah.
Because now that kid, the way he depicts the religion, how it should be, he may even go in attempts to reform or call for reform of the Deen itself, challenge things, the Quran and the Hadith that are there, right? And so that's where that push away doesn't help.
Yeah.
But also inside the masajid, you have other issues as well, where they're like, okay, we don't want to do anything for the youth unless our name is on it. And so now it's like, hey, we use leadership and, you know, wars where you're like, hey, we're heading this mission. If we're not heading it, we're not participating.
Right.
Yeah.
And so masajid aren't working together because this one wants to take charge, this one wants to take charge, and then this one doesn't work with them. He doesn't like them anyways, right? And so this is where you have, and then you also have the whole thing of holding on to power. You don't want to invest in young guys that are learning and they're studying the religion to be a voice for this demographic in your masjid.
No.
Hey, you know this guy who's studying with the sheikh? Why don't you sort the way out? You give him a position in the masjid where he can do things.
Yeah.
He can have, you know, he can lead the khutb, right? And give khutbahs and have classes and even do small things where the masjid should fund, like hiking or something.
Yeah.
You know, outdoor
Basic
things.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where you can take the youth from their environment to a newer one.
Yeah.
And, you know, so open up their horizons.
Yeah.
But right now, this is what's going on right now.
Yeah.
It's a mix between political struggle and power,
distractions,
and also, you know what I'm saying, and then also you have people that are trying their best, but they're not getting support from the wider community.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I see, because you know we got a lot of points to talk about, but one of the things that I see is major distractions within the community.
Major distractions.
They're not focusing on the future.
Yep.
They're focusing on, you know what I mean, the moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, the moment I want to shine, the moment I want to do this, the moment we got this program, but the future is the Gen Z. If the Gen Zs do not come to the masajid, all these masajid that you're buying left and right, they're going to be shut down.
The way the churches are being sold off,
that's just the reality of life. So we need to make sure our leaders are visionary. Like they need to have vision. Ali, go ahead. You want to add to that point?
Absolutely. The thing is, the problem that people have is they say, oh, there's something wrong with the kids, then we need to go to the leader, is what they're saying. And it's not necessarily that as well. You don't rebel against the leader all the time.
No.
You change the community, the kids, so that the next leader is not the same as the leader in place right now.
Yeah.
So if the leader in place right now is not doing anything about it, you don't try to overthrow them. You go and you fix the kids, the Gen Zs that we're talking about, the younger kids that are coming up, so that when the time comes that they can replace that leader, and then the community will also change with it as well.
Yeah.
So the other thing, though, we're kind of shift here, but the kids who are coming to the masajid are not the same as these kids that are going to these other places.
No.
Right? If you look at the commonality, like if this is a a requirement or a list of like things that you can check off between these two kids, they don't match up.
No.
Right? If you look at it, like what happens? These guys who are vandalizing and causing commotion in the community, right? Their lack of Islam, their lack of Deen, right? Their relationship with their family, their parents, their relationship with their peers, and also the way they conduct themselves around other people is not the same as the kids in the masjid.
That's true.
No.
The kids in the masjid, they're ready to become an imam. They're ready to become a hafi. They're ready to become the next sheikh in the community.
Or just regular Muslims, honestly.
Yeah,
Just as long as they're abiding by the Deen.
Absolutely, exactly. Well, these other kids are looking. Their role models, their leaders are the hip hop communities. These people who are doing, not even doing anything, that are like persuading them to do it. Right? You can't have too many leaders. Right? You have one leader, and then the rest of these kids are following. Okay. And they all look alike. So I'm going to conclude with this. I know we're trying to move faster, but I'm saying if I want the kids to, if you're watching this or listening to this, look at yourself for a second. Yeah. What is your relationship like within Islam? Are you praying your salats? Are you praying them on time? Do you read the Quran? How's your relationship? Do you mix with the non-Muslim culture as much? What is your relationship with women as well? The sisters. Are you free mixing with them? How do you look when you dress up in the morning, when you go to school? What does your hairstyle look like? If you look at these things and they match up with the guys that are committing these crimes, then you're on the spectrum. You're on the verge of doing exactly what they're about to do if you haven't done it yet. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, that's a good point. So we had a big event recently in February. Abu Taymiyyah came. And thousands of young Muslims came out. Okay? And Gen Z, majority of them, if not all of them. Okay? Gen Z came out, and Uthman, did that show, and I want you to answer in like 30 seconds, did that show that the Gen Z, they're looking for the Deen, but they just have not found it in our community? What are your thoughts on that?
No. No, I've heard people say that. I disagree only because I was there and I saw. I was there. I was at ground zero, right. And I saw. Right, and somebody from looking at it from the outside,
were you one of the people who was? Were you okay?
No, attack
No. Were you one of the people that called for the ambulance? We heard people were fainting left and right.
Oh man,
there was a lot of discussion about that, but just I can see somebody looking in from the outside. They would say something that it makes sense, but if you saw what you saw mostly were the problems. Really? You saw the illnesses. It was
more exposing.
That's what you saw. If anything, that was what was there. I can explain that to you in detail what I mean, but that's for a different time.
Do you disagree with him?
No, I don't disagree with him, but I'm going to play the antagonist role in this. I'm going to play the opposite just because I'm going to show you. What do you say to the people that are saying, well, like the brother, when he came here, he's on their platforms that they're on, that they're watching. Okay. So that's what attracted them to come to these events or his event in particular. Yeah. It's because he's on TikTok and he's on Instagram. Yeah. But a lot of the shuyukhs, they're not on those platforms. And these is where, if they're there, quote unquote, if the sheikhs come on to Instagram and do this and engage with the kids and go where they're at, then they're gonna come to the masajid. They're gonna get them more involved. What do you have to say to that?
Again, that's an outsider looking in. That's an outsider looking in, and that's first of all, I appreciate the hustle done. May Allah bless you. No, I really do. But again, it's a miskeen perspective. Yeah. Because when you're there, you see. Now, of course, you can't dismiss all of it and say they're all there for clout or they're all there. No, right? You could say there's a good amount of them that are there for the right reasons. Yeah. But if you were there, you would see a lot of people that were there for the wrong reasons. Point in fact that they didn't even know. Many of them didn't even know that you couldn't bring your shoes in the masjid. You know what I'm saying? You had sisters putting on makeup in the boys' bathroom. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, it was getting tough. It was
half of the sisters, or at least a third of them, were having makeup on, and you ask yourself like, "What's going on? Is this a lecture, right? In the masjid?
All right.
What's going on? What's going on? Now you start to get mad at Abu Taymiyyah. Like, bro, what are you doing here? You bringing fitna? It's like, like, bro, it's not me.
Okay, we're gonna move on from that point. No. Okay, the next point is parenting.
I do want to say though, their potential is there.
Of course.
But
Major potential.
But does it represent the thirst of Islamic knowledge and wanting to practice their deen? I don't think so.
Okay.
We have the chefs.
I
I,
don't
mean,
think so.
they're here.
Yeah, they're here.
They're here.
We have if anybody will,
I don't think so.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I gotta add
Bro.
one more thing, man. I gotta add
Yeah,
one more
this is
thing,
what you
man.
Let us.
Listen.
Go ahead,
what
bro.
you do.
I got it. This is
Ali,
an
talk to him.
example here. This is literally an example.
You gotta let him,
okay.
man. Go ahead, Ali.
There's guys and girls who say this, and this is for another story too.
Yeah.
But they'll say things like, "There's not a." When someone's trying to get married, they say
Yeah.
things like, "There's not a lot of good brothers
here or
here.
sister. Yeah.
There's not a lot of good brothers. You see brothers like Abu Taymiyyah and stuff like that. I want to marry somebody like that. They don't exist. Really? In this community?
not
Or are you looking in the wrong places?
Yeah.
Which is usually the case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the same thing with him coming here, they're only looking at him and seeing it there. But we exist. The brothers who want to guide you and get you on the right path, who want to mentor you,
Yeah.
exist in
Yeah.
your community.
In your community.
Go find them.
Go find them. Yeah. Okay.
That's it. That's all I gotta say about
okay,
that.
That's a good
Okay.
ending right there. We need to move on.
So I just want to say one thing. No, wait. So all I want to say. Listen. So all I want to say was, go ahead and G.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. The last thing we want the youth to
Okay.
watch is us fighting right
Yeah.
now. The guys
Go
at
on.
Deen Love, they were fighting over the podcast. So the next one is parenting. Obviously, this is a big department. Obviously, there's a major void here. I have an argument in which these kids, I feel for them.
Yeah.
I feel the Gen Z kids growing up at this time. I feel for them.
Yeah.
They have been number
you're the
one.
advocate.
I'm the advocate. You know what I mean? Call me the what do they call
The big
people who
homie.
fights for their rights?
Is it the
Civil rights
so
activist for Gen Z.
You're the
Yeah.
It's a
activist.
big
I'm
old
an
Community
activist,
activist,
social justice warrior.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Anyways, these kids, I feel like number one, they didn't have the proper upbringing. And obviously, we're generalizing here, not everybody, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They've been institutionalized through the daycare system. They never had a real childhood growing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a void of deen and akhlaqiyat and manners because that's another topic one day. The duksis and the places where, and at home, they're not given proper Islamic education. And so the parents, what level of blame do they have in all these things? Because they're the ones who are in charge of all these things. Uthman, jump on it, and I want to do like 1 minute, because we have a lot of different points that we got to tackle.
Okay, just shortly, I will say briefly that there's some parents, again, there's parents that try, and then there's parents that are part of the problem,
Yeah.
right? And a part of that problem is the parents who they themselves are not role models, good Muslim role models for their children.
Yeah.
The parents are not good Muslim role models.
Yeah.
And then these are often the ones that complain and cry about what the masjid are not doing. But they're the ones that are, in their household, if you were to step in it, you would not know Muslims live here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
This is a big problem.
Right.
Major.
And so you'll have sometimes the parents don't pray.
Yeah.
The mom is lackadaisical, if not even wearing the hijab to begin with. So what do you expect from kids that come from that household?
Yeah.
Right.
What do you expect? And 2 days of madrasa duksi doesn't cut it.
No,
It does not
impossible.
cut it. And this is for a long time has been the status quo.
Yeah.
And so when you have this, of course, you're gonna have a big and negative repercussions of the children who don't understand their religion. They don't understand how to behave as Muslims. They don't know who Allah is. They don't know what Allah wants from them.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why you have brothers with thobes and ski masks. Right.
Yeah.
The guy doesn't
Man.
realize
Man.
how much that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But for them, that's what they identify with.
Yeah.
That's what they identify Islam with, right? And what shows us there's a misapplication, misunderstanding, misconceptions that grow out of this issue.
Yeah.
And so parents need teaching too.
Yeah.
Parents need duksi themselves.
Major.
Wallahu ta'ala.
Okay, Ali, what are your thoughts on this? Have the parents, do they have a big blame in all this?
It's a yes or no, but I'm gonna go from the side that says no for right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Why?
Go ahead.
It's because the parents can only do so much. Okay.
Okay.
If I take my kid to duksi, if I instill in him right and wrong, the difference between right and wrong, I give him good character, and he still chooses to do bad,
That's out of
How can you
that's
blame
out
me?
of your control.
That's out of my control.
Yeah.
And that exists as well. We talked about these kids growing up in the suburbs, 2-parent households. Some families like are family oriented, but there's a kid that may come out of that who says, I'm not into that.
Yeah.
This, whatever the massages got going on, the events where they go on hiking and horseback riding and, you know, are doing these other things, it's boring to me. I want to do these other things.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not blaming the parents or the kids, but what I'm saying is, even like, if you look at even Iblis himself, right? He knew who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was, and he still chose to disobey.
He's the most knowledgeable, really.
Yeah.
And he still chose to disobey. Now, I'm not calling these kids Iblis, but I'm saying, look at the situation. And then the people that were alive during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they still chose to be hypocrites and to not follow, you know, follow the correct path. And so these kids will have these parents, will have a father figure at home, would have a mother at home who does everything correct for them, and still choose to go the other way.
That's true.
And so I'm just gonna leave it at that.
But also talk about the fathers that are not there too.
Right.
So this is
What about the
another
mothers that
component.
are not there?
The mothers are not.
What's
There's
going
some
on?
mothers
What's
that are
go-
not there.
Do you know what
Some
they call the
mothers
Gen
are-
Z? Do you know what they call the Gen
What do
Z?
they call it?
There's a Somali statement, Hoya Matalo.
Subhanallah. So Hoya, and that's important too. We have to address these because the younger the parents are becoming, and they're more, they know what this culture is.
Yeah.
They're working.
Yeah, they're
Their
hands-off
parents
parenting.
Parents are not, so they want to throw their kids in the school somewhere or daycare somewhere because they can't handle them. They don't have time because they're working. And so when work becomes the priority, then the children become, second.
Definitely
secondary.
Of course, if Hoya Matala means Hoya, basically Hoya Majukt. That's what they mean because there's a lack of, language here. Mom's not here. The millennials, they used to call them Say Wallahi generation.
Say Wallahi generation. Shout out. Shout out. We made it, brother.
Shout out to all my Say Wallahi generation.
We survived. Subhanallah.
So the millennials was the Say Wallahi generation. For a long time, that was it, right? But now, the Gen Z, they're called Hoya Matalo. You call Hoya Matalo. You look Hoya Matalo. Meaning Hoya Majukt. Mom's not here, basically. If you don't speak Somali, I apologize.
Okay. But before we shift,
Hoya Matalo means the parents have done, and I think this has impacted the Somali community.
Right.
The kid goes to school all day, in the afternoon they're in daycares.
Exactly.
This is I would say maybe 80% of kids grew up this way. The last 12 years. So imagine the kids who've been institutionalized like that. Hoya Matalo, they've never seen real parenting. Maybe I used to wonder why people in the Western culture put their parents in nursing homes. They don't live with them because when they never really felt parenting. But if your mom was there every single day, part of your life, when she gets older, are you gonna throw her in a nursing home? No way.
Absolutely not.
But go ahead, Ali.
Yeah, no, exactly what I'm shifting, kind of taking from that is, alhamdulillah, for big families to a certain degree. When we're a big family, we don't send our kids to daycare.
No.
We kind of, the oldest one usually raises the next one.
Yeah.
We're kind of like in charge of it. It don't matter how young we were.
Yeah.
If you understood what mom and dad told you, you follow suit. You'd be like, mom, dad said this, we need to stick on this. And so one thing I wanted to mention was there's a shift that maybe we don't see as much, is that parents are fearing their children
more and more.
More and more.
That's a great point.
There's a lot of that's been going on. They don't want to upset their kids. I don't know if it's because they're the youngest or whatever it may be, but there's a story I want to tell real quick. This brother was mentioning this. I saw this on social media. He said a mother came to him. She was concerned for her son. She said she looked under his bed and she found drugs under his bed. And as she looked more and more in there, she found bullets under his bed as well. And she had fear. She didn't know what to do. So the brother asked her, he said, because she was looking for help, like, help my son, and he asked her, what did you do with the items that you discovered? And so she said, I just left it there because I fear of what's going to happen if I take it away from him. And if you think about this for a second, one of the signs of the day of judgment is that a mother will give birth to what?
Her master.
Her master.
Inna lillahi.
Have we reached that time right now that this could be one of the explanations of that, one of the stories that we see, that the mother has fear that if she touches the kid's stuff that he may explode on her. And so subhanAllah, I wanted to mention that, but we can continue from there.
No doubt about it. That's a major issue. I think parenting and a lot of those things in Gen Z's what they're dealing with, we should make a big That's such a big topic and so important. Okay, what are some solutions we can put in place? Obviously, the problem is huge. There's There are problems from every angle, from the parenting side, the community side, the lack of deen, the lack of communication with these young brothers and sisters. And I do want to mention, this is not all the young brothers and sisters. This is a small minority,
right,
getting all the attention.
Mm-hmm.
This is a small minority. I want to say that. I should have said that in the beginning. This is a small minority, not everybody. Uthman, what do you think is how do we move forward?
So I think there's a couple of I'm going to make this brief, but we have a couple of angles to look at this from.
Yeah.
First is the masajid that do have, and that's alhamdulillah, we have masajid, and the functioning of masajid in the community is a community center.
Mm-hmm.
So kids will spend some time there, whether it's going with their father to Jumu'ah, or to Duksi or something like that.
Yeah.
So they do have an outreach. And so I think we need to upscale and we need to invest more in our outreach programs to our children. Not just Duksis.
No.
But first we need to have Islamic studies. That's number one.
Yeah.
And we need to have it with people who understand their language.
Yes.
There's a lot of young du'ats and mashayikh that we need to utilize.
Of course.
Properly. You can't say, well, they know Somali, and then your whole focus becomes the Somali language.
Yeah.
And now, again, it's a distraction.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you utilize the people who know the English language, who speak their language, right, they can communicate with them better. The second thing is to invest in more programs where they're going out horseback riding, paintballing, laser tag, football, basketball,
activities,
barbecue outside, camping, those sort of things. I gave a lot right now.
Yeah.
Right? SubhanAllah, to have and to take them out hiking, take them out into environments that they've never seen before.
Yeah.
And have a real conversation with them.
Yeah.
And you'll find that your da'wah is more effective and they are more receptive.
Yeah.
Then also you have the school situation.
Yeah.
Right? We need to support and invest more in our Islamic private school, not charter school.
Yeah.
Before it was public school, and we were moving to charter schools. Now even the charter schools are just not cutting it.
It's the same play.
We need to invest and support more our Islamic private schools. There's only 3 in the state right now. One is Islamic Da'wah, right? With Masjid Da'wah in St. Paul. Then, or Da'wah Academy. Then you have Al-Amal.
Yes.
And then you have, I think, Pioneers or something like that.
Beitul Hikmah in Prior Lake.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Prior Lake.
Yeah.
Okay. And so those are the only 3. And we need to do a better job in donating and also investing, because when when we do that, when we empower them, then they can empower our children more.
Yes.
Right. And they have a better and safer environment in which they can grow.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to resort on daycare anymore.
No.
Duksi.
No.
Okay. Then we need also parents.
Yes.
Parents that need to take benefit and advantage of the mashayikh and parenting skills, right? The classes inside the masajid, there needs to be more of that. Why? Because when parents know their deen, they can also influence their kids as well, and teach their kids as well. Better tools, understanding the sunnah, how the Prophet ﷺ used to do what he did, right? When you have that, then you are empowering families, and it just trickles down to the kids. And then last but not least, I would say, we're 4? Is this the 4th one? Okay. I would say, last but not least, I would say the curriculum of Duksis and Islamic programs, right?
Yes.
We need to empower them, and we need to also innovate in terms of adding more and in a more understanding their attention span, but in a more digestible way that the kids can take this and then they can consume this knowledge. And Allah's a'lam.
Ali, what do you think some key solutions are to better the community on this issue?
First, barakallahu feekum, brother Uthman. You mentioned a lot of great things. I'm just gonna throw a couple in there that's maybe that's been hidden under the radar that we need to try. I love the idea of just trying something, and if it doesn't work, then we move on to something else.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back to this idea of ground zero, where we actually give da'wah to the ones that are at risk meeting them where they are, not social media. I'm talking about the ones who are outside.
On the ground.
Yeah, who are doing these things, catching them. We can't act like we don't know who they are. If I don't know them, I know someone who knows them.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right? So we need to get them and pretty much wash them up. Like, brother, listen, this isn't for you. What the activities you're doing are, if of any benefit, is worldly life gains. What we're trying to get you embedded in is what we're trying to do is the afterlife as well. Connection, benefits here and the afterlife. And if nothing more, the afterlife at best, right? Which is better than this world. But we need to go get these kids, these young adults. I know where they are, where they're causing issues. If we can find people who can go out and talk to them, it doesn't have to be a 50-year-old, 60-year-old sheikh who's telling them, hey, you're wrong, you're bad. It can be brothers that can relate to them and say, hey, brother, I know what you're going through. I know what you're doing. It's not good for you. Brother, you're going to miss out on a lot of good things. Imagine you get caught, man. Imagine what your parents are going to have to go through every day. If we do something like that and we try that initiative and reach out to them, even if they've committed the crime already, and be like, I know that brother, and then meeting him where he's at. If it's his home, his mother lets us in through the door and sit with him, I think that has a huge impact on changing that kid himself.
Major.
And so I'm talking on a very micro level.
Yeah.
You know, that kid is, and specifically that child or that young man, and getting them and making them the future leader of tomorrow, inshallah. So,
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Let's move on to advice quickly, because I think both of you really mentioned some great things for solutions to this issue.
Yeah.
Uthman mentioned to me, to reiterate it quickly, putting a lot of emphasis on Islamic private schools. I think this is, maybe we should have a whole podcast on this topic, because this is one of the most foundational things. The only way the community as a whole, on a macro level, we could better things is to put our kids in safe environments. That's point number one. Point number two is bettering the masjid. Point number three is bettering the duxis. You know what I mean? A worst case scenario, if that's the only resort we have to better the kids, the duxis need to be more universal. And doing a lot of footwork and actually dealing with those kids who are in these type of environments.
Right.
You know what I mean? Making sure parents, get the help they need in order to, because some parents, obviously no parent wants their kids to be doing this. Yeah. They lost control. Yeah. Exactly. So they need an outsider to step in. That's true. So creating some type of initiative like that, I think that would be great. Last thing, advice. The brothers and sisters who my brothers mainly, today we're not talking about this. This is our mashallah.
Absolutely.
Today Najib and Uthman Ali, for the first time ever. The young brothers who are in these matters.
Yeah.
What can we advise them? What can we advise them? Just a 30-second advice, because we have to close, inshallah.
Let me go first on this one.
Ali,
I'm going to let Uthman close it out first. I just want to talk from personal experience, what I've seen, what I've dealt with.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go too into depth. I just want to say I've been in these spaces. I've seen these things been happening over a long period of time. You know, all these kids they're a new player to an old game.
To an old game.
They just, they add their own rules to it if they want,
true,
right? Yeah. But really, wallahi, what happens is, man, if you do these things, your future is in deep jeopardy. I know I gave a khutbah at a prison facility once, a couple of times at this place in Faribault, and when I got there, I remember seeing brothers that I used to see out here doing exactly what these young men are doing. Somali brothers. I'm not talking about African American and whatever other cultures. Somali brothers in there. And I knew one of them very close. He used to hang around younger brothers and my cousins and stuff that I used to see. And when I saw him in there, it broke my heart, because I knew that this is the place that he would end up if he continued down that road. And unfortunately, he did. And so are we going to wait until more and more and more of our brothers, our young brothers, end up in there before we decide, all right, let's find these kids and change them? Yeah. And so this is an advice to the young brothers. If that's where you want your future to go, keep doing what you're doing. If you want to be ignorant and you just want to have fun for the rest of your life, knowing that that's the end road, keep doing what you're doing. But wallahi, if you want to change for the better and you want to look back and say, Alhamdulillah, thank Allah I've changed. Thank Allah I did not go down this road. Listen to what we're saying in this podcast, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. That's my last few statements, advice.
I want to say something. Just I want to speak from the heart here, if I can do that. I just want to say to these young brothers, we love you.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
And we wouldn't be doing this if we hated you, you know. And we have to understand that from love in our deen is that you want someone to benefit their dunya and their akhirah.
Oh yeah.
You want them to succeed in both things, right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "La yu'minu ahadukum hatta akuna ahabba ilayhi min walidihi wa waladihi min nas wa nasi ajma'in." And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "You will not be a believer until you love me more than you love your wealth, your children, your parents, and the entire world." He says, لا تدخلوا الجنة حتى تؤمنوا ولا تؤمنوا حتى تحابوا. He says, you will not enter into Jannah until you believe. You will not believe until you love. And then he says, do you want me to tell you something?
Love one another.
If you do it, it will increase the love in between you. He says, spread salams amongst each other, right? And look at the da'wah of the Prophet ﷺ. It's very practical. Okay, and so from love is to give you nasiha, adinu nasiha. From love is to tell you what is harming you in your dunya and will harm you in the hereafter. Ali Deen right now, he just spoke about what? About people that will inevitably go to jail. How about going to Jahannam? Okay, we're here looking in the long run here. Okay, and we don't want just success for ourselves, but we want success for the future generations here. And this is why we're doing these podcast efforts. Some people, they say, oh, you guys just talk. You guys just talk. Okay, but you talk. And our talk and your talk. Which one is more beneficial to the future generations? Which one is more beneficial to our children that we're going to be having, right? Which one is more beneficial to the future community in which we're supposed to be building? And so it has to start this way. But this is not the only thing that we do, okay? But we say this with love. We care about all of you, brothers and sisters alike. And all we want is for all of us to be successful and to create an environment of taqwa that Allah is pleased with. That's it, right? And we won't be able to do this unless we deal with these big issues. It may offend some of us. We may hate it. It may bother us in our soul. But this is always the first part of getting better after being sick is medicine. This is medicine time.
Yes.
Right? And this is the medicine that we're given. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us all, keep us steadfast on the deen, and to inspire us with reality. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.
3 things to you guys. Life is very short, you know. Life is very, very short. One of the most amazing things you'll realize is just, you know, how time flies. That's a sign. I mean, a sign of among the signs of Allah is how just time flies to Allah. You feel like yesterday you were just a teen, today you're an adult, tomorrow you're an old man. So in short, I'll give you guys 3 advice. Number 1, always fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you conquer that, in the mix of conquering that, one of the greatest things that help you is surround yourself with good friends and a good community, with a good masjid, however you might do it. Surround yourself with good people who also fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 3, surround yourself in good environments. As long as you're in the right place in life, you will always be able to be in control of your life. The minute you put yourself in the wrong place, with the wrong people at the wrong time, you are not in control of your life. And many, many young people have destroyed their lives on that type of path. مَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. Whoever you imitate, you will be with them.
SubhanAllah.
So environment and people has a lot to do with how your life will play out. So fear Allah, always be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Allah will give you a way out of everything when you have taqwa. And 2, surround yourself with good brothers and sisters who have high iman, who are trying to, no one's perfect, working hard to better themselves, to always try to succeed in life, in dunya and in akhirah. When you surround yourself with those type of people, al-mar'u ala deen khalili. A person's on the deen of his friend.
Yes.
So you got to be very careful of who you consider to be your friend. So that's extremely cool. Many of you don't want to be in these type of environments. You don't want to do this, but you're just doing it to look cool, to be, you know what I mean, to fit in,
right.
to tell everybody I was there. But in reality, you got to realize how that will impact your life. The last thing, be a visionary person. Think of the future. Don't just live for today. Think how your life will be down the road. The choices you make forever, the choices you make today will impact you forever. And so to conclude, the brothers have said a lot of things. At the end of the day, our only narrative here is because we love you for the sake of Allah. And we don't get paid to do this. No one really, you know what I mean? We took time out of our families, out of efforts, or whatever it might be to be here today to make sure we sent a good word to you. We spoke about this topic on many different angles, but the whole point is the angle that's for you. And that's the most important part. Unless you make it, you better yourself and you choose a better route and you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything else we said was just, you know what I mean, on the side. At the end of the day, you're the main focus. So inshallah, share this with the brothers and the sisters who need to hear this message. I think every young brother needs to hear this message. If you have a young brother, share with him, whether he's involved or not, and spread the message. Man dalla ala khairin, whoever leads to something khair, it's like the one who has done it. You'll be just like us. Even though you know you're at the comfort of your home, because you hit the share button and you liked it and you forwarded it and you told the brothers that, you know what I mean, you got this to somebody who really needs it. It might be the one thing that changed their life. So inshallah, we'll conclude at that. Shout out to the brothers. We're back for another season, just like Ali said. Ali put it beautifully. Back for it's like coming back for another season. We got a lot of content coming out, inshallah. We're gonna try to hit you guys hard, inshallah, where you most need the most. That's what we do at the Deen Lovers podcast right here. We talk about the most current issues that the community needs. We'll be in touch. Stay tuned. Make sure to share. Sallallahu sallam ala nabina wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.